Welcome back, friends. It's another episode of The Mindful CEO. I'm your co-host, Chris Angell, joined by our always ever-present host and mindful man, Aaron Hendon.
Yeah,
What's up,
what
my
up?
friend?
Right, nice. Yes,
Welcome.
hey, hi. Great.
Hello.
Uh well, this is good because we really are dropping right in the middle of a very hot conversation today and
Hot off the
a
press.
hot conversation, mostly just hot. Um and we have a great guest who's also a life coach who works with people in exactly this regard. And I thought this is one of the places the universe has once again brought us to the exact right opportunity for us. So let's give Brad an opportunity to introduce himself, and then we'll set up the topic and jump right in. How's that sound?
Well, Aaron, Chris, I really appreciate you guys having me on. It's been a pleasure to meet you guys so far, and I'm really looking forward to diving into what we're going to be diving into today. I've been coaching for quite a few years at this point, was diagnosed with depression at 13 and was able to completely overcome it. And that's a little bit of the inspiration as to why I desire to do what I do now. And a
Mm.
couple hundred lives transformed later, this is my soul's calling, and I envision myself doing this for the rest of my life, unless I wake up at 40 and decide I don't want to do it anymore, then I'll do something else.
Could
That's
that be a
good.
better setup for what this is, Chris?
I mean, come on, man.
Come
Yeah, keep
on,
your
right?
options open, Brad. Keep it open. That's good.
But I mean, that's exactly what Chris and I were talking about this morning before we started was like, all right, well, you know, how do you know what your life's work is? One, right? That's one question. But there's
Mhm.
more than just that question. So there's how do you know what your life's work is? How do you know what you're really good at? Like, Chris, I'll let you talk about Jim Collins and coding to set
Yeah.
that up, right? And then
Yeah.
how do you know when to quit, move on, try something else, like you said you were going to be a life coach unless you turn 40 and decide something. How do you, where's that line? How do you know? And how do you jive with what it takes to make money, finding your ikigai, what you're good at, what the world wants, what you can make money at, and finding that space.
Yeah.
Chris, set it up with coding and then how you got to where you started the
Yeah.
conversation this morning. And then let's hear what,
Yeah. Yeah. I can't wait to get Brad's take
yeah.
on this. I mean, the calling part, I feel like I'm drawn to callings. I heard you say, Brad, like this is my calling. I could do this the rest of my life. I think many people in mindful CEO land, get into business because it feels like an answering of a call. Like I'm here to bring my calling to the world. And then it's like, yes, but then there's the business piece and you got to figure out how to make money. And for me, I, Aaron, I'm in a 21-day experiment with Aaron right now. We're doing this a cohort, and it's having us look at noticing the thoughts. One of the thoughts that I noticed this past week was this constant question in the background for me, which is or a driving command, even like I got to figure out how to make money. I don't have time to do that because I got to figure out how to make money. And for 20 years, I've sort of really wrestled with this question, like, how do I make money? It's not like I haven't made money. I mean, here I am 20 years later, right? But it always feels like not enough. It always feels like I'm not encoded. So to bring Jim Collins, Aaron into this, I'm not encodings are things like you're naturally wired for them. I know I have encodings too. I ask people great questions. I am a good teacher. I see frameworks and patterns. I can distill things into understandable frameworks. These are things I'm good at, but I've put a lot of those things on hold so that I can quote unquote figure out how to make money. And a lot of my time and energy goes into trying to figure out how to make money. And I'm just not very good at it. Like if you just get to I'm not encoded for it. And in the dip, so this is where I was talking with Aaron about the dip. Seth Godin talks about a cul-de-sac, which is like, a cul-de-sac is just one of those things where you can have sunken costs. You can invest your whole life into something that's not going to go anywhere. And it's only ever going to get maybe a little bit better, but also but not. And I'm like, fuck, I've been in a 20-year fucking cul-de-sac, trying to prove that I don't quit and I can make this happen and we'll make money someday. I'm 3 feet from gold and I'm acres of diamonds in my fucking backyard and all the stories you say to keep yourself in the game. And I'm like, just getting honest about what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. So Brad, welcome.
Right.
What comes up for you as I share all of
And
this?
and not particularly coaching Chris, although that's okay too, but more, like what do you, what comes up for you? That's,
Well, it brings up a very real dynamic that I've been interacting with over the last month and a half of my life, which is I care about business, I care about making money, I care about helping people transform their lives. What is the actual amount of money I need to live the lifestyle I want to live in 10 years from now? I want a wife, I want two kids. That's an absolute ton of money in the modern world, and it's probably only going to be a ton more in 10 years from now. And so, yeah, I think that's one of the most fundamentally challenging questions to answer. Like, what is the overlap between the stuff that I love doing and being able to make money with it? I realized pretty quickly, like, I had this, when I first started coaching, I wasn't sure if it could be sustainable. And then I realized, well, really only, it took a year into it to actually see it start to take off. And then I realized it can be sustainable and it can thrive and it can grow. And there's, I mean, is in business, everyone likes to say there's no ceiling. I mean, I guess it depends on the industry that you're in. Because I mean, look, with coaching, it's my time invested into it. So I eventually run out of time if I work with enough people. Obviously, you could change the models of everything. But I realized that this is my life's calling that I can also do to make money with it because I saw other people doing it. I had mentors and coaches that were doing it in a slight different way from me, so I could take inspiration from it. But I have like a few friends that are music producers and whatever the creative industry is. But they don't make any money because, I mean, most people that make money in the music industry, they sign the $1 million record deals. And I mean, how many people of the people who are in the music industry actually get to that level? It's way less than 1%. Now, I do think there's like this, statistic or talk of how like 99% of businesses fail. And I really think that on the most practical level, most people go into the idea of starting a business with like that passion that you were talking about. And that was what the start was for me. But once like the realistic marketing hits and all the things you have to figure out, all the actual problems you have to solve, people just they either quit or they feel they're not cut out for it. And that's not a wrong conclusion to make. I mean, people say like, "Oh, you don't want to work 9 to 5, you don't want to be an employee." Some people are good at being employees and some people can be happy being employees. I realize that I absolutely despise somebody telling me what to do. It makes me want to throw their head through a wall. But if they're doing better than me in a certain area, then I'm more than happy to shut my mouth and listen to what they're saying. I just realized like most of the people who I grew up with, like teachers or people in school or older than me or most adults I was surrounded by, like they were telling me what I should or shouldn't be doing. And I just never saw any of them actually content or happy with their life. So I was like, well, who do I actually listen to? Um, to be honest, for me, I just kind of lucked out because like when I was depressed when I was younger, it was just like the idea of self-growth got into my life. I got obsessed with philosophy, spirituality, psychology. I didn't really choose it. It just kind of happened. And then 5 years later, when someone says, "Have you thought about coaching?" It's like, "Oh, no." And then this became my thing. So in some ways, it kind of just all lined up for me. So there's definitely what I could say is either we could coin it as luck, we can coin it as God's gift, whatever you believe in or don't believe in. So I do think there is a degree of luck with quote unquote success, whatever someone would
Yeah.
define that as.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
That's good.
definitely think because I mean, look, for me, I mean, I just came back from a 2 week trip to Europe. I went to 5 countries. This is the first time in a long time I took like a whole, basically 2 weeks off from work. And what happened during those 2 weeks? I lost some clients and I wasn't doing anything to gain more clients. So my revenue went down. So I'm now back and I'm like, oh shit, oh crap, okay, I gotta work extra hard now. And it's like that's the life I chose.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I love it as much as challenging as it is.
It's good, man. I just I'm working through Jim Collins' most recent book, which was What to Make of a Life. And he talks about it's his only book where he really focuses on like individuals and people, not companies, but he talks about return on luck. Like one of the things in his case studies with these people, he noticed that they had luck. And Aaron and I call this the invisible hand after like Michael Singer, but there's it's luck, and good luck and bad luck happens to everyone. It's those who are able to play with the luck when it shows up, what to do with the luck when it shows up, that you get a return on
Right.
that luck. It sounds like you had something placed in your space and you were prepared, or you heard it, you listened, you were present, you were aware. Some people just aren't even present when good or bad luck happens. They're just like, it's another shitty
Well,
day,
that's
or it's a
the good luck favors the prepared mind. I mean,
yeah,
it's an
yeah,
aphorism for a reason. It's
right.
completely
Yep.
valid. And the thing I think that's interesting that's that we talked about earlier a little bit, but is worth really diving into is that you got to get quiet enough to be able to feel the difference between the two.
Mm,
You
mhm,
know, you got to, because look, that thing about I've been trying to get enough forever. That's consistent with the epiphany I had that brought me to mindfulness in the first place.
mm,
Was that it was just I'm trying to get enough. It wasn't what I was doing. It wasn't real estate, not real estate. It was the never-ending nature of desire.
mm.
The very nature of what it is to be human is to consistently desire more, which from an Esther Hicks perspective is don't even sweat that.
Yeah,
That's
right.
that's the game is that of course the trick is to be completely satisfied and eager for more,
Yeah,
which is different than dissatisfied and pretending that the universe or whatever thing out there is going to fill the hole.
yeah,
If
Yeah,
you're
I think
just
it's a question of
good, yeah,
just what is the more for? Like, okay,
it's a
you
whole
want to
nother.
make more money, but why? And the reason may be very valid and in fact what's very connecting you to it. But at a certain point it just becomes more for the sake of being more. And they did a lot of psychological research studies on it. I mean, I don't, again, I don't ever die by a research study and say like, this is what proves this and that's like fundamentally right. But like, okay, it aids in the perspective a little bit. They did a lot of like, okay, once people start making over like, I think that when people are making like $40,000 a year and then jump to like $120,000 a year, like their happiness being measured, it like goes up a lot because 40,000 compared to 120 is a pretty big gap.
yeah,
But once they go from like 150,000 to like 300,000, it's not really that much difference. Like, yes, you can afford more things, and yes, you can buy a nicer car, but you have your fundamental like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You have your
yeah,
hopefully your love and belonging. Maybe you have a wife, you have a family. You're able to afford your house. You're able to travel, a few times a year. You're able to go out on a Friday night and not maybe hopefully not look at the bill too scrutiny to really okay, can we afford the $40 steak? And it's like once you have that, I mean, how much more do you really need? If you want more than that, I don't think there's anything wrong with going after it. But
yeah,
if there's like I realized for myself, like a lot of the answers I was always looking for were already right in front of me. And particularly what
yeah.
you guys are talking about, like those opportunities or seeing the luck. I think for all of us, the opportunities that are in front of us are different per person, but most of the time they're there. It's really a question of are your eyes open or are they closed?
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, you said this thing, Brad, and it just triggered something for me. Um, and now I can't think of it because I take a lot of drugs. Before the hierarchy of it's this I probably not related, but we're big on tangents here. So, um, the studies aren't even how much money you make; it's how much money you make relative to the people around you.
Hmm.
That's the key determiner for most people's satisfaction is that it's not how much money they make. It's not the dollar amount, the pure dollar amount. It's that it's relative to the people around them. Um, in other words, if they found out someone else was making a little bit more, they would be less satisfied with their money.
Mm.
Not would be, are less satisfied with what they, if you get $100,000 for a job and that six figures, you finally get it, but then you find out that this guy over there is getting 150 for the same job. You're not as satisfied with your life and you have the same exact fucking amount of money that you did 10 minutes ago, but you found out someone else is making more money. So it is important to look at what you said, the why, but not just the why, like what am I out to fulfill on the world, which is sort of the why Chris and I started this show in the first place, legacy. But why, like what's the lifestyle you want to live, which is what you were talking about, Brad. Like what is it that you need to say
Hmm.
it's enough?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, the comparison is also just a straight gateway to hell. Like you're just speed
Totally.
running life to hell. Um, like if somebody makes $1 million and they end up moving in three houses down from you, like now you're just gonna be miserable with your life.
It's 100% a gateway to hell. I'm not saying it's not. It's just the most common way to live.
Yeah. And I think that's like those are the most I look at a lot of the common ways to live as an example of how I don't want to live my life.
Yes.
And I mean, look, I can't sit here and say I'm not human, and I would never look at someone who's making more money than me and be like, oh, like it would be nice to make more money.
Hmm.
But I understand that they have fundamentally different circumstances. They had a different childhood. They had different parents. They grew up in a different area. They're in a completely different industry than me. If somebody's a life coach and have the same, circumstances and background as me, and then was making like 6 times the amount as me, then I'm probably gonna sit there and be like, "What the fuck am I doing with my life? Like, I'm doing something fundamentally wrong." Um,
But even that right there, that's a for sure a conclusion, and maybe empowering, maybe disempowering, maybe accurate, maybe inaccurate. But the fact that Tony Robbins makes what he makes, how much does that really say about me? And it doesn't say anything unless I say it. It doesn't say anything about me, right? It doesn't. It's not a thing until I say something about it. It could be aspirational.
I think there's a thing that happens like if for me at least if I looked at my own I'm 50 so been in business 25
To
plus
be
years.
50, to be
I
50
know,
years
man.
old again, man, that would be scary.
Haha. There's like for a long time it felt like comparison, benchmark trend. I'm looking at what I didn't occur to me like comparison, like I want what they have, but it looked like I don't know what I'm doing and I need to figure it out from somebody else. It was so different than Brad, how you said it, like which is consistent by the way with what Jim Collins said. These people in these case studies, it just sort of showed up. Like the things that drew them in, where they got successful in life, these things showed up, and they were present enough to notice them. They weren't out there going like, "I'm going to set a 5 year goal for whatever." These things dropped in their lap, and they go, "Oh, I have a knack for this. I like this," and they just sort of followed the next steps, which is so not the business world. The business world is like, okay, what's our strategy? Let's get our business plan. Let's line up all the things. So I think for a long time it was comparison in terms of like I need to know what I'm doing. Now this far in and deconstructing some of that, I'm just sitting with like what do I actually want? Not what does anything say about me, but what does Chris actually want? And I want money. I'm sort of past buying all the toys. I don't have a problem with toys. I think toys are fine, but um, I just want to be comfortable. I'm like, I want enough at the end of the month, and that's good enough for me. Kind of to your point, Brad. Like, from 40 to 100,000 sort of is a big jump. And then after that, I'm like, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit if it's 100 or 300. It doesn't matter to me. I just want enough at the end of the month. And I think that may or may not be, I don't know. That may come with age or maybe it doesn't. I don't know. I
I
think when
think
I
it's
was younger, I had a lot to
intentionality.
prove. Yeah. Say more.
Because
Say more.
especially me being in my early 20s, like I'm supposed to be the guy that needs to prove everything to everyone. Like I need to prove to everyone that I can be successful and I can make money and I know what I'm doing and I know what I'm talking about. Um, but at the end of the day, nobody gives a fuck. Nobody
Hmm.
cares about me. Like, yeah, the people in my life that I'm close with care about me. Everybody else, I'm just a face on the internet to them. I'm just somebody's
Yeah.
name that they heard, a guy who had a cool perspective sometime, or a guy who you thought I had a stupid one. That's it. That's all I am to certain people. And that doesn't impact me anymore. Like before it was, oh, this person doesn't like me. Oh, okay, well maybe there's something wrong with me. It's like I know exactly what I want. And that's what I had to get clear on, which what I was saying before is like I've just lived my life the last 2 years like let's focus on what's ahead of me. I want to make more money. I want to grow the business. I want to help more people. Great goals. But for what? What is my 5 year vision? What is my 10 year vision? And now that that's a lot more clear, now it's like, yeah, the fundamental is similar to what you're saying, Chris. Like it's simple. Like I want more to just, more than let's say making enough at the end of the month. I want to have a surplus of that for investments and whatever else I want to do, travel, all that type of stuff. But I want a family. I want to be able to provide for that family. I want to live a meaningful life where I'm able to afford travel, and if I want to do it last minute, I'm not gonna shit my pants because it's an extra $300 for the plane ticket. I'm gonna go anyway. And being able to just live in a way where I'm not scrutinizing myself all the time, questioning, can I do this? Can I make that purchase? Because most of the things that I want to purchase, they don't really cost that much money. I
Yeah.
realized I went down to Miami, Florida, so like early 20s influencer, social media, fucking life coach, whatever you do online, business related. Like go buy a penthouse in Miami, and you're gonna be
Right.
surrounded by people, and you get to party a little
Yeah.
bit and make a ton of money and have a great life. I went down to the apartment. We stayed with this YouTuber who has millions of followers. We were watching his dog for a few days, and I was sitting there just working, doing my coaching sessions on like the Miami balcony. It's like, oh my
Yeah.
God, this is like the pinnacle of success. I was there for a singular day and I was just
Mhm.
working and I looked up and I said, this means absolutely nothing to me. I don't
Yeah.
give a fuck about any of this.
Hmm.
Like, would it be nice to have a nice car? Yes. But I'm still going to the same place and I'm still listening to the exact same music. It doesn't really matter. And so when I have enough money, I'm going to buy those things. But I know now that it's not going to add more fulfillment to my life. It's like that little cherry on top. The foundation is very
Mm.
simple. Love, connection to what I'm doing work related and the people in my life. Literally that's it. If I have work I love, think and some free time to do extra stuff that I enjoy and people that love me and I love them and we're building together and then we're able to build together and have those deep conversations and I'm able to do absolutely nothing with you for 6 hours straight and that's like the most connective experience ever. What more do I need? Nothing.
Yeah. It's good.
Just for me, it happened to be like I want to do that in the business realm. For other people, it's I want the stability of, working for a corporation and then they, handle some other stuff that the business owner would then have to handle
Yeah.
themselves. That's it.
I think the thing I love about this conversation is that there's nuance here, and underneath all the things we do in our life that I've been doing for 20 plus years of my adult life, like all the things we do in our life often go unchecked. We don't inquire or ask about how did I get here? What is this for? What am I doing? And so, like me, there are a lot of thoughts in the background that run our lives that we're not actually, Aaron, to use your phrase, we don't have agency of our attention. We don't actually, we don't have the agency to
Right.
notice what is driving our life and the decisions we make and what we put up with. And it's like, this is the business world. This is like, this is my beef about hustle culture is like we get so wrapped up in trying to hustle for what? What is what, what's it all for? To your point, Brad, like what's it all for? What's the intention? Your intentionality? What
Right.
love and connection? What anyway,
Well, all right.
penthouse in
So
Miami? What's
you
that,
know,
Aaron?
well, it's wrapped. So there's tendrils that go out into the various different
Yeah,
aspects of this, right? So there
yeah,
is, what's this all for? What am I really doing here? What do I really care about? What really matters to me,
yeah.
right? How much is enough? You know, I know, Chris, that I've talked about this on the show before, but it's such a good anecdote. It was Joseph Heller and Kurt Vonnegut.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember this conversation?
Keep
So,
going.
so Kurt Vonnegut and Joseph Heller have been invited to a Wall Street financiers party out in the Hamptons. This has to be like in the 70s, maybe the 80s. Um,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, keep going. I
and
remember.
they take some time, just the two of them out on the beach looking back at the house. And Vonnegut says to Heller, I'm almost sure that's the way it went. Uh, does it ever make you, does it ever, whatever he said about it, does it ever fuck you up? Does it ever make you feel a particular way? Do you ever feel bad that that guy made more money today than Catch 22 is going to make in your lifetime?
Mm,
And he says, not really, because I have something he'll never have.
hmm
And Vonnegut says, what's that? He says, enough.
hmm
And there's that space of, okay, well, what is, enough isn't a number. Enough is something that you say, and you can definitely see, Brad, you were talking about the road to hell. We were watching the World Cup last night and they were showing Jeff Bezos, in the box. And there's a guy who just clearly can't get enough. That's just like there's no line. It's literally just an empty hole. You can see it in the way he treats his body and the way he completely, my daughter's training me and she's 23. She was like, look maxing. Like the
Look
guy's got
maxing.
surgeries and does
Look
everything for look
maxing.
maxing. He's like she was telling me the
Look
difference between
maxing.
maxing. Sorry, she's yelling about something out there. I don't know what happened. Um, uh, maxing and mogging and
Oh
uh,
yeah, it's massive nowadays. It's
yeah,
essentially like if your facial structure and your jawline is not optimized perfectly, women won't find you attractive. You'll never find a long-term partner. She'll leave you for somebody better. And it's basically just cancer of the mind,
Yeah.
for young men in particular. I mean, look,
Mm.
women, but to be honest, women have been suffering for this for decades
yes,
over like now men are being thrown into the mix and they're actually they're just
Mm.
accepting it. Like, yeah, like I'm not enough and I gotta be, but like women have been shoved down their throats of I need to wear this amount of makeup and I need to look this way and I can't go to work if I you don't have makeup on and like fuck it, I'd rather be late than not have makeup on my face or whatever the case
Mm.
is. And it's like who I am now, physically or mentally, is not enough. Now
right.
everybody's infected by it, and I don't really see that changing because everybody who gets sucked into the loop is like 12 or 13 years old. So then they're going to
Mm.
experience that for the next 5 years. And some of them will wake up one day and realize this is actually really fucking stupid. And then some of
Mm.
them, it'll just like eat away at their subconscious for the next 15 years. And then
Yeah.
they'll just live with it.
Dude. Yeah, dude, that is such a good parallel for like that's me in business for 20 years. I was look maxing. I mean, it wasn't Botox in my lips and it wasn't, but it was how do I is this what you do to be the cool kid? Like I've always, even as a kid, I wanted to be the cool kid. I wasn't. I had off-brand sneakers. I had, I tried to wear, overalls with one strap down. I just, the things that I was like, how do I be cool? And in a way, that's look maxing, right? That is, and then for 20 years trying to carry, you said 15 for somebody in their teens, 15 years they're going to carry it. I carried it for 25 fucking years. And only now getting honest about it. I mean, I don't know. As a life coach, Brad, how do you help people start to find their way back to their truth? What's true for them?
Oh, a lot of the questions that you guys were suggesting before, like those reflection questions of like, who am I? What do I desire? They're really questions of like, I used to think they were questions of figuring it out. And then I started to realize that most of the time it's not a question of figuring out, it's just revealing of the truth that has existed within you the whole time you never gave it, but you never gave any space to. Like the
Mm,
forefront of the mind was I need to impress other people or people need to see that I'm a businessman, for example,
mhm,
versus who am I actually as a businessman, and what value do I want to provide to myself, the world, and the people around me, whether some independently of what if people see it or not. Like for example, I play drums in a band like on the weekend sometimes, so I play in front of people. I love it. I love sharing that experience.
mm,
Um, but I know that I don't need that, and if my band fell apart tomorrow, I would be just fine because in some way, shapes, and forms, I get more fulfillment playing drums in my room in my house with
mm,
nobody ever listening to it rather than if I'm on a stage in front of however many people. Just because,
mm.
like, when you're a cover band, you have to play certain music that people want to hear. But, like, the niche stuff that I just love myself, like, I can play that on my own time. I don't give a shit if somebody listens to it or not. And that's how
Yeah.
I know I care about it. So, when I think for people like finding their purpose, the business, the career, the field, the university degree, whatever it is, it's like, what gives
Mm.
me that feeling of that I'm just gravitated towards no matter what? And like, could I go the next 40 years with nobody ever knowing or caring that this is
Mhm.
what I do? And if the answer to
Yeah.
that question is yes, I think you found your thing.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, it's a really great way perspective. It's beyond just would I do it for free. It's funny that you say it that way, Brad, because I've often talked about, my love for like examining my different tastes in music and different groups and different things that, I think make it what makes it something I love. And a big part of it is uh the lack of giving a fuck about what other people think. Like I'm a
Mm,
deadhead. And I feel like in a lot of ways the Dead embodied that. They were like, look, this is except without that cover band shit. They were like, no, this is what we do. We do this.
Mhm.
We drop acid and play country music. Okay, not a great business strategy. Not no one's thinking, yeah, there's the market. But they were like, I don't give a fuck. This is what makes us really fucking happy, and we think is really fun. And this is what we do. This is who we are. And I've always loved it. Frank Zappa, same way for me. You know, just a lack of, giving a fuck what other people think. And I think that's, Chris, I think it's one of the things that shows up as important when you begin to meditate is you begin to hear all, it's a little bit like the forum on Sunday when you finally get to those rackets and strong suits. It's like you're discovering those now, but you're discovering them really slowly and individually and in a way that makes a real difference for what it is that you're playing with. Um, I think that's really cool. I don't know. I think there's something in there.
I'm also not
Absolutely.
even convinced that we even choose what we enjoy. Like you're like I was
Oh,
gravitated towards coaching or
yeah.
drums or anything. Like I
Yeah.
didn't choose any of
Encodings.
that.
Encodings.
Okay,
Encodings.
this is what Chris is talking about.
I mean, that's like, yeah, sorry, I just piggybacking on that, Brad, because that's what I think how Jim Collins was sort of describing encoding. Like you didn't learn it, you didn't pick a book up, you didn't like it. You're like, you gravitate to it and you're predisposed to doing it. Like you do it well. He was good at math and then went to college and got in a math class thinking, oh, I'll do something in math and realized, this is what being good at math looks like. I'm not good at math. I thought I was good at math, but then he's like, these guys are encoded for it. I love that. Like, that's really good, but I just think, yeah. And I think that's hard to notice if you're caught up in comparison. If you're like, oh, I need to do this is because this is where I've been in business. Oh, this is how I have to make money. This is what good business people do to make money. That wasn't what am I good at? What makes me, how do I want to play music? This is what I do. It was, oh, this is what you have to do. And those are different things. I love, Bradley, it sounds like you're inviting people back to like, oh, what are you drawn to? What feels
Yeah,
good?
it's also like that. I think romantic relationships are like the perfect example of it because everybody online can like list off the qualifications of like let's a woman would be attracted to you if you make money and like shit like that. But like when you look at reality, it's not that a woman care. I mean, look, some women do, but for the most part, a woman doesn't care about the money. She just cares about your connection to your ambition, and then that will of course lead you to making more money. Um, and it's like you don't like they call it falling in love because you didn't fucking choose to fall in love. You fell into it after you went on an exceptional date and you just connected with each other's souls. There's one of my favorite podcasts is Chris Williamson. He was talking about this and he's like, if a guy really is like just obsessed with bird watching, he knows every species of bird and the mating calls, whatever, all this shit that like most people look at and like I don't care about bird watching. He's like there might be a lot of people that look at him and say this guy's really strange of the fact that he cares so much about that. But there may very well be a woman out there that loves him so much because he cares so much about that. And it's not even about the bird watching. It's just about the fact that he's so connected to something in his life because most people are walking around with a connection to fucking nothing. It's what's the
Mm.
TV show that you watched? What's your favorite movie? And by the way, these are great things to talk about, but it's like that's it. There's no other substance but that. What do you do when you're dude, I can't and again, when you're in your early teenage years, fair play, but like I when I was 16, 17, 18, I started to like have these things that I cared about. Whenever I was like talking to girls or something, it's like, "Oh, what do you do for fun?" "Oh, I like watching TV." Are you fucking kidding me? Like that's not a hobby. Like it's fine that you enjoy watching TV, but like that's not you. Well, can I
Yeah, yeah,
see
yeah.
who you are, or do you not even know what
Hmm.
that is? Most of us, even 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s people, are still asking themselves that question. And I look, I think it's a fundamental question we'll ask ourselves for the rest of our lives of who actually am I. But I do think as you show up more for yourself authentically in your life and do the
Yeah,
things that you care about, you get closer to answering the question.
yeah, absolutely. 100.
Yeah. I don't know, it seems like feel like that's a good place to park this.
Yeah.
No answer, but places to look. And I think that's the best we get. And I think, to wrap this back around to what you uh said, Brad, about, maybe at 40. changing. And Chris, you're dealing with this now. None of it's final. It's not what's the answer. It's
Yeah.
what feels right now, and what feels
Yeah.
right now, and what feels right now,
Mhm.
and what feels right now, like that. I think that's a more interesting way to go about, a more useful way to go about it. I know. Anyone else have any last words?
I think that's a beautiful reflection.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's great. Brad, if people want to learn about you and the coaching that you do and how you can help them, where can they find more about you?
Best place would be very simple, mightybrad.com, as well as TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram at Mighty Brad. And specifically on TikTok and YouTube, I go live 7 days a week. So you can come on and
Nice.
ask me questions completely for free. I give you actionable steps, in-depth answers, and a great way to connect, even if you don't want to do anything coaching related and pay me any money.
Ah, nice. That's awesome. Yeah, I love that. That's so good. Wow. Well, thanks for being on the show, Brad. Aaron, thank you. I'm loving this 21-day experiment. Can't wait till we do our next
Yeah,
one. If you guys,
I know, can't wait to talk to everyone tomorrow about it.
yeah, if you
Um,
guys want to learn more about that, what they can go to themindfulceo.com, or where do you want to send them?
uh, yeah, have them fill out a form on we'll get the forms updated on the mindfulceo.com for
Great.
just contact information, but that's really where
Yeah.
they go.
Okay, perfect. Love it.
Hi, man.
All right, friends. Thanks for keeping it real. Until next time. Peace.
Peace.